Hi there, it's Sarah from Inspire Tarot. Welcome to the channel. Let's see what message Spirit has for us today. The Tower and Justice. So we often think of the Tower as a bad thing because from our ego perspective we may want certain things to play out a certain way and they don't. But the Spirit of the universe always has a bigger plan for us that we don't understand. Our goals are too small, and the Spirit kind of knows that we want more, but we don't know how to go about appropriating it, or the changes in the mind that are required. So the Spirit will bring in these tower moments, which to the ego can seem quite challenging, but afterwards with hindsight we can always see how it was helpful and how we've leveled up. So this works out that everybody in every interaction is having the opportunity to learn and do their best. And yeah, when a situation collapses, maybe it's a relationship or something like that, then both parties are being freed from whatever was not working, and that wasn't being held. Quite often in relationships there's an imbalance where one person takes too much and the other person gives too much, and if that's not being reconciled within the relationship, then the relationship will come crashing down. And quite often we think of that as a bad thing, but that really is a good thing, because it's just teaching us with every time that we have a connection with somebody, it teaches us a little bit more about how we need to be. And I know that many of us have a pattern of people pleasing where we feel as though we have to be a good girl or a good boy in a relationship. But that doesn't work, because the universe is based on equality. So, and Spirit and God know that we don't have to prove our worth, that we're already worthy. So whenever we come at relationships from this distorted perspective, then the universe is going to bring in towers to realign us, to help us to learn that we're all equal and that we don't have to prove our worth. So from our human perspective it can seem quite brutal, but then from this higher perspective we can see actually that we're being helped, we're being given a leg up, and we just need to be grateful and accept the lessons and accept that the Spirit really does care about us. It says in A Course in Miracles that everything is planned by someone who knows our good, and I do think that it's nice to understand that, because from our human perspective we really have no idea. The Five of Swords. So the Five of Swords is a card about conflict and defeat and threat. So this often happens in relationships where when we feel not worthy, and the ego is afraid of vulnerability, then quite often we fall into this pattern where one person wants to dominate the relationship, to kind of puff themselves up and feel in control, and the other person is looking for approval and safety, and then the relationship becomes this awkward dynamic where people have stepped out of their alignment with equality. And then we just end up with this kind of conflict and threat, and it becomes out of balance, and we kind of lose our purpose, because the purpose in any connection is for two people to almost merge together, to become love, to become one. But if we end up with this pattern of one-upmanship, or trying to prove ourselves, then it gets messy, and that's why these relationships collapse. The Empress. So yeah, the Empress didn't become the Empress overnight. It's a process of learning what works and doesn't work, and learning to flow with the universe. In order to flow with the universe, we have to feel safe, so we have to align with unconditional love, and we have to trust the Spirit. And I know for many people on this path, they're learning to step back into their power and step back into the receiving energy and to feel safe. So it's definitely a process for all of us as we go through this. And I know that my own personal creativity and things was blocked out for quite some time whilst I was healing, and now I feel as if it's come back with a vengeance, and it's great. I think when we do really commit to our spiritual work, then we're always being given opportunities to heal, and I'm so happy that my creativity's come back, and I feel as though this is happening to many other of my friends as well, who all seem to be feeling quite inspired at the same time. Clearly it's a reflection, and it's a beautiful thing, and we all support each other as we heal and progress. So the Six of Swords is a card about moving on to calmer waters. And this is something, that happens. It can happen physically, or it can just happen in the mind. Whenever we decide to listen to the spirit and realign with the truth, then the mind will become calm again. And this card also talks about releasing baggage, and that it's a rite of passage, and that our only job really, according to the spirit, is to heal our belief that we are, a mere mortal. This is our only job. So we don't need to feel ashamed about being where we are. We don't need to fight for ego goals and things like that. We can just allow ourselves to heal, and give ourselves time to grow, because it's fine, and we have time to process our emotions. And the Six of Swords card is telling us that the hard part of whatever cycle we've been in is over. And that we've survived it, and we're moving on. And this happens over and over in the mind as we ascend, as the mind is purified. Strength. So strength relates to our inner strength, which we know is of God. Strength is of God. And we know that love is the only power. So whenever we're being loving, that's when we feel our most empowered. And I think earlier in my journey, that was a huge misconception. I felt as though it was the other way around, that we had to master fear. But really we just have to master love, because fear is false. It's an illusion, and it doesn't even really exist. And we learn that when we align with the truth and when we align with God, then we are empowered and we are in our strength. And I like this card. It's cute. So it has a lion and a turtle and a bird and a rabbit, all kind of peacefully just enjoying the sun. And that's the way life should be. It's the way life can be. When we don't push out resistance or opposition, then everything just is gentle and flows. And it's a process for us to learn to do this. And quite often with the Queen of Swords card, in order to do this, we have to learn to be quite a lot tougher. We need to be prepared not to people please and to speak our truth, and to also very much follow what's in alignment for us. So I used to have a friend that would say to me, he would ask me if I wanted something, and then he would say, "Don't say no if you mean yes." And I love that line, because I think it's so important. How often do we want to say no or yes when we actually mean the opposite? And then we're not being authentic, we're not being true to ourselves, we're not loving ourselves. But we fear being authentic. We worry about what will people say. But the universe is not, because it's a mirror, and God wants equality for us all. That's the only way things work out. Then if we're not honest with ourselves, then we're going to experience dishonesty and issues in the external world. So we're always being shown that we must be authentic. And the Queen of Swords is very authentic in that way. She's a straight shooter. She's very uncompromising. No nonsense. But she's also impartial and respectful. And just communicates in a very open way. And once we get to a stage where we're not too concerned about what other people think and we just let other people be disappointed with us, then we take our power back. And I've found, particularly when I first started to take my power back, that you will get some kind of pushback and a lot of resistance and a lot of issues. And it does say in the course that, I can't remember how it says it, but the role of the accuser will just keep occurring and you have to keep forgiving it and see it as just a reflection of our own issues within. It's projected. So if we feel guilty, we'll attract blame. And we need to transmute everything from within, so what comes back at us is more comfortable. And it's just a refinement process over and over. And the Spirit is helping us shift our beliefs all the time and constantly giving us opportunities to refine. So yeah, we must be true to ourselves. We must speak our truth and understand that it gets easier the more we do it. And the less we need external validation, the easier it is to do. And actually, when we choose to empower ourselves and speak our truth, it also gives other people the opportunity to see that they too can do the same. You know, quite often we worry about upsetting people, but it's more important that we set an example and be honest and be authentic and give other people the capacity to do the same, because the more we hide from each other, the less we feel seen, the less we feel, you know, we complain that we don't feel seen and heard, but then when we hide our true selves, then we can't be seen and heard. And we have to understand that it's our responsibility to change it. The Wheel of Fortune. So the Wheel of Fortune is all about fated change. It talks a little bit about karma, and I know karma, people think karma is something that we must endure, but the way I experience karma is to think of it, it's teaching us understanding. So from the ego perspective, karma feels like punishment, because if we're stuck in a loop or we have a distortion, then it seems to play out over and over and it feels as though we're being punished. But really we're just being given opportunity after opportunity to learn and put it right. So karma is to teach us. So it's about understanding, it's not about punishment. And when we see it that way, we can find it helpful. But yeah, the world goes in cycles and we just have to keep going. And every time we spiral up, we get a little bit stronger and a bit wiser and more loving, more trusting. I know that my level of trust in the Spirit has grown exponentially since I've been on this journey. We just have to keep going. The Chariot and the Five of Pentacles. So the Chariot is all about moving forward. We have to be very determined. It's a kind of a very progressive card where we're just we overcome all obstacles. We're very assertive and courageous. But it's also a card of balance. You know, we can see that the owl and the birds are balancing. And we do need balance in order to move forward in a strong way. We need to align with the Spirit. The Five of Pentacles is a card about lack and scarcity. And we are required to face all these things as we move forward. Anything that's not abundant in the sense that God provides everything, then we need to look at it, and it is going to come up. And the Five of Pentacles is a card about lack, separation and abandonment. And if we have any of these beliefs, then we're going to be facing them over and over until we heal them. And if we can just be strong and understand that we're being helped and it's not that we're being punished, we just need to see it very differently. That we just see it as we've been given opportunities to heal and shift over and over. And I think when we can see it like that, it's super helpful. And not to be afraid, because the beliefs, the fearful and lack beliefs that we have are erroneous. They're not actually true. We can never be separated from our source, and we can never be lacking, but we can cut ourselves off, or seem to, but we can't fully cut ourselves off, as it says in the course. You know, we can kind of paralyze ourselves and reduce our creativity to almost nothing, but we can't completely cut ourselves off. And that suffering is not without limit. So we're always being guided. And the more we heal, the less we want to suffer. You know, we're focused on our purpose. We're prepared to face the suffering head on and get through it as quickly as possible, and understand that we can experience the pain and the struggle without resisting it. When we don't resist it, it passes much more easily. It's the resistance and the judgment of our pain and discomfort and our seeming lack of progress that really applies the brakes. So if we can just accept that everything is part of the process, and we do need to remind ourselves of this over and over and over, because the ego backlash is always telling us that whenever we don't feel good, that we're doing something wrong, and it's not that. It's just that our belief is inaccurate. The Eight of Wands is a card about moving forward quickly, like rapid spiritual progress. And we can see here that these umbrellas they're just all flying in the same direction. It reminds me of Mary Poppins, this card. It's just a very goal-oriented card where we're very much like the Chariot. We're just kind of powering ahead and quickly. And I think whenever we don't judge ourselves and judge our process, then we do move ahead quite quickly, and the Spirit can bring in situations for us when we're ready. I know in the past I've kind of said bring it on, and then the Spirit has brought it on, and it can feel a bit too much, and you think, oh my God, don't bring it on that much. But that was when I was very afraid of my feelings. And yeah, I obviously do still feel fear about unpleasant feelings, but I think I get through that quicker these days. And I think we do, the more we practice, the more we see that we don't want to suffer, and that everything is just coming up. It's being pushed up by the light for release. So we can see it as a purge rather than as being tormented. It's coming up to be purged, to be looked at and seen as nonsense. The Seven of Wands. So the Seven of Wands is definitely one of my favourite cards. I love it. It's all about having the courage of your convictions when you're going through what seems to be struggle. Because struggle is essentially just a state of mind. There's nothing to struggle against. And I think we learn this over and over. I remember seeing a little image on Pinterest a long time ago, and it was a woman in the water, and it said something about, when I stop struggling, I float. And I think it's very hard hitting. You know, we always believe that, or the ego always tries to convince us that we have to work hard to prove ourselves, but really the opposite is true, because God doesn't want us to suffer and struggle, because we're not guilty, and we don't need to. And we just relax, we can get into the natural flow of things and fall back into that peace and silence. But it does require trust, and we do become more trusting over time as we progress through our emotions and our experiences. So yeah, I liked that reading today. I love these cards too. Right, I hope you enjoyed it. I love you all. I'll see you again. Bye.